Welcome to this edition of the Observatory, or the O for short, a sports talk show here at UTD TV. I'll be your host, Jordan Murphy. I'm joined alongside by Matice, Wynn. As always, let's begin with a rundown of UTD sports. I'm just going to throw a dart at the board here. Let's start with men's soccer. They're currently 5-3-1 in conference play. They have 2 ASC games remaining in the regular season. They're currently in 3rd place of the ASC, and most recently, freshman goalkeeper John Nicknish earned the ASC Player of the Week honor. Moving on now to women's soccer, they are also sitting 3rd place in the ASC standings. They have a record of 7-2, 3 conference matchups remain. 2 of those are against teams that are right there in the thick of things in the ASC playoff picture. Moving on now to UTD Comet Volleyball. Matice, what's new in that world?
Well, we did talk about this a little our last episode,
Right.
but now the Comets have furthered. We are currently with a record of 12-3 in the ASC East. We're currently ranked number 22 in the nation. They did take a loss to Texas Tyler, but they are going to Wisconsin this weekend, and then they will come back October 24th, and we are hoping for a win.
That 24th game is their breast cancer awareness game, also their last home game of the regular season. The structure of the ASC conference this season, they always switch off whoever hosts the ASC postseason tournament. Last season it was the West, the winner of the West would host it. This season it switched to the East. Fortunately for us, the Comets are in the East, and so if they win that game on the 24th, there is no possible way Tyler could catch up. We would clinch the East, which means we would host the ASC postseason conference tournament. That would be just an awesome environment, definitely something that we hope happens. So again, the 24th, they're playing the Turno. Come out and support your Comets. Let's move on now to men and women's basketball. They're just beginning their seasons. Matice, what are you looking forward to most from both of these seasons upcoming?
Well, for starters, I'm hoping we can do, a lot better than we did last season, but we do have the notable returners. We have Caleb, Reagan, and Demetrius, and that first game will be November 15th, so definitely come out and support your Comets. We're just looking to see them go further this season. I mean, we want to see them win, and we are sadly going to have to be saying goodbye to some of those seniors after the season, so hopefully they can, go further and do good their senior year.
Right, they finished last season winning 9 of their last 11 games, so definitely left it on a positive note, looking to continue that positive trend. The women's basketball team could have a very different look compared to last season. They graduated 4 seniors from their starting lineup. It'd be fun to see how Coach Polly Thomason works. She's just a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to see how she interacts with her players. So once again, they graduated 4 members of their starting lineup last season. It will be a different dynamic for the women's basketball team. They're coming off a season they won the ASC tournament last year, so definitely some high expectations set. Again, it will be fun to see how Coach Polly Thomason treats that new team. Women's cross country now, we're moving on to Lindsay Rayborn. She earned her 2nd straight ASC Runner of the Week honor. It is her 8th career time winning that award. She led the UTD team to a 4th place finish at the Mississippi College Invitational. She placed 3rd individually out of 119 competitors. She was the top D3 competitor, and UTD was the top D3 finisher in the 16-team field. So a lot of good things happening for the women's cross-country team.
Men's golf most recently competed at the Oglethorpe Fall Invitational in Georgia. We're joined now in studio by Bryce Cooper, men's golfer, who just landed a hole-in-one on the 16th hole at the tournament. Thank you for coming here.
Yeah,
Bryce.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I just want you to walk us through that 16th hole. How were you feeling? What were your thoughts?
Okay, yeah, sure. So the scorecard yardage on the hole was 148, I think. We shot it at 141. It was playing probably 10 yards downhill with a little bit of a tailwind. So we kind of figured, I was talking to my coach on the tee box, kind of figured it was probably playing 125. During the practice round, our coach goes up to the greens and they mark on the greens where the holes are going to be placed during the round. So he had marked where that hole was going to be for that day. And so we hit our shots to that hole the day before, and I'd hit a really good shot, probably to maybe a foot away. So standing on the tee box in the tournament, I turned to my coach and I said, man, I stuffed it yesterday. If I'm going to get it any closer, I'm going to have to hold this one. So I stepped up and hit a good shot, a little knockdown pitching wedge, and it was going right at the flag, and I just said, be the right yardage. And it dropped down and landed probably 2 or 3 inches in front of the hole and bounced once and went straight in. So it was pretty awesome experience.
Did you see it go in?
Yeah, we saw it. It was from an elevated tee box, so we were looking down on it and saw, exactly where it landed and everything.
Where does that moment rank in your favorite golf memory? Is there anything that's topped that in the past?
That's difficult. I don't think so, just because it was in a tournament. My coach was standing right there with me on the tee box. We're at a national tournament. It was a pretty cool experience. My first hole-in-one, my dad was there. It was in another tournament, but I didn't even see the ball go in. I had looked away already, so I think this one's probably, if not number one, probably
So
top 3 for sure.
This is your second hole-in-one?
Yeah, this is my second hole-in-one, yeah.
think sometimes we forget how much the odds are against that. Your odds are obviously a lot higher than mine are.
Sure.
Hitting a hole-in-one, but at 148 yards is what the scorecard said. The probability of that happening is just completely slim, almost none. So really cool to see you do that. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, Bryce Cooper landing a hole-in-one in the 16th hole in the first round at the Oglethorpe Fall Invitational in Georgia. That was October 7th.
Yeah, correct.
They compete again next, the men's golf team at the Classic at the Firewheel, hosted by Texas A&M Commerce on October 31st. October 30th and 31st in Garland. October 31st, is there anything important going on that day? The women's team will return to action on October 23rd and 24th at the Abilene Intercollegiate. We're going to turn now to John Hatcher for coverage of the NBA. Bryce, thank you once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Tuesday, October 17th, marked the start of the NBA season, which is always an exciting time for all you NBA fans out there. But before we get to the games, we want to talk about Gordon Hayward. Now, when it comes to sports, obviously injuries are just a tragic thing that happened to a lot of the players and our favorite players in the NBA. Gordon Hayward, within the first 6 minutes of the game, he suffered a dislocated ankle and a fractured tibia. So we just want to send our thoughts and prayers out to Gordon and his family, because when it comes to injuries, obviously that's bigger than the sport. We just want to make sure he has a speedy recovery, because a broken tibia, that's nothing to play with. As far as dislocating your ankle, if you've seen the video, his ankle was literally on the side of his leg. So that's nothing to play with at all. And we, like I said, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to Gordon and his family. Now, shifting over to the games, the Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Boston Celtics in an amazing 102-99 game, which featured the Boston Celtics being down by as much as 19 points after Gordon Hayward suffered his injury. And the game all in all was really emotional. Obviously, it's hard to bounce back after one of your star players suffers an injury of that nature. So, going into halftime, like I said, Boston was down by as much as 19 points. But coming out of halftime, Kyrie Irving and the crew led a 19-2 run that led to them eventually closing that gap on the lead and eventually actually taking the lead in the fourth quarter before LeBron James did what LeBron James always does. So for the Celtics, Kyrie Irving finished the game with 22 points and 10 assists, while Jaylen Brown, a role player on the Celtics, finished with a game-high 25 points. Now, when it comes to professional sports, the stars are always expected to do what the stars do. That's why they get paid the big bucks. But Jaylen Brown, a second-year player, he's kind of taking this season to take that next leap in his career. So like I said, he finished with a team-high 25 points, and it looked really good while he did it. It was very convincing. Now, for the Cavaliers, like I said, LeBron James did what LeBron James does. He finished with a near triple-double of 29 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists. Now, moving on to the second game of the night, the Houston Rockets defeat the Golden State Warriors 122-121 on their ring acceptance ceremony. So, typically on those type of games, the home team who was getting their rings from the previous championship year, it's always a very emotional time for them. Oftentimes, the players' heads aren't actually in the game as they're still celebrating from last year's championship banner, as that banner is getting put up and they're accepting their rings. So, more often than not, that championship team often loses that home game. And the Rockets, having newly acquired point guard Chris Paul, he had something to prove against the Warriors, because typically when he's with the Clippers, they always lose to the Warriors. So now that he's with the Rockets and he feels more comfortable being with James Harden, now that he thinks that he has a more competitive chance of actually beating the Warriors, they came out and they played a really solid game. Now, as we expected, the Warriors led for most of the game, but the Rockets came back in the fourth quarter and went home victorious. For the Warriors, Nick Young came off the bench and scored a team-high 23 points, while Steph Curry did what Steph Curry does in scoring 22 points. For the Rockets, James Harden led the charge with a game-high of 27 points and 10 assists, while Eric Gordon contributed 24 points off the bench. Like I said earlier, in the NBA, bench play is just very vital to a championship team's success. So Eric Gordon, if the Rockets are going to be successful at all, they're going to have to rely heavily off of their bench. And Eric Gordon came in and had a great game, contributing 24 points, while P.J. Tucker came in and scored 20. Now, for the rest of that opening night week, there were plenty of notable games. The Philadelphia 76ers played the Washington Wizards. The Minnesota Timberwolves played the San Antonio Spurs. The Oklahoma City Thunder played the New York Knicks, and the Los Angeles Clippers played the Los Angeles Lakers in a hometown rivalry game. Now we'll send it back over to Jordan and Matice.
Thank you, John. The city of Dallas hosted the annual Red River rivalry between the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas this past weekend, October the 14th. OU got out to a quick start, jumping out to a 20-0 lead on Texas. Texas did make it a game. Matice, what were some of your final takeaways from this edition of the Red River Rivalry?
I think that this is everyone's favorite time of football season, especially in the college world. If you are a Texas native, if you're an Oklahoma native, we all look forward to this big rivalry. It was definitely sad to see, that Texas defense just could not hold, their weight this time.
Especially in the beginning.
I know a lot of us are going through a heartache due to this, but, there's always next year. We're always going to see this rivalry. And, that's basically what I have to say about it.
It was the difference in quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, the experienced guys at Tech, came to Oklahoma in the playoff race, and newly elected freshman quarterback Sam Ehlinger for Texas. I mean, the guy's a horse, 235 pounds. Mayfield definitely, as you mentioned, had the better of the Texas defense at the beginning, jumped out 20-0. It was just kind of hard for them to come back. Definitely hurt my heart a little bit seeing Texas lose to Oklahoma.
They have their work cut out for them, but we're hoping to see them get better this season.
Right. It was Texas's first Big 12 conference loss, so they're not out of the big picture by any stretch. Let's move on now to the MLB postseason. By the time this is released, we might have the World Series matchup set already, but right now, Dodgers 3-0 lead on the Cubs. Cubs are the reigning champions, so they're going to have their work cut out for them to get back into that series. The ALCS is knotted up 2-2 with the Astros and the Yankees. Yankees won an exciting comeback Game 4, have one more game in New York, then they'll fly back to Houston to finish that series. The Stars in the NHL, very early point in their season. They're currently 3-3, right in the thick of things in the Central Division of that Western Conference. Let's talk a little bit now about the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys, woo!
They are 2-3, not really a start that many anticipated.
No, not at all. Coming off of last season, this isn't what we were expecting. It is hurting us a little bit as someone who is a Cowboys fan, born and bred. The season's off to a rough start. It's definitely off to a rough start with the legal problems. Right. I think a lot is on Prescott right now to just hold the team through and carry them to where they need to be.
Right. Those legal troubles just continue to play a factor, just continue to loom over Zeke. It's got to be hard to play one as his teammate. I know that's the last thing he wants to do. He doesn't want to have a negative impact on his teammates, but that's just seeming like it's always in the back of their minds. They're 2-3 right now. They do have a matchup in Week 7 against the 49ers. They don't have a win yet, so definitely want to win that game, get back to 500, face the Eagles, who the Eagles are 5-1 right now, definitely playing some of the best football in the league. But it would be nice to see them get back on track, just have things firing again, get back to that mojo they had going last season.
Yes, that Packer game, that had us on the edge of our seat.
That's always good.
It was really back and forth. I mean, nobody could have saw that touchdown at the end, and just 11 seconds left in the game. I mean, that was crazy.
Talk about some magic. Aaron Rodgers, you gave him too much time a little bit, as you mentioned in that game. He actually suffered an injury. He's going to be out for a substantial amount of time as far as the Packers go. I know he's one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch in the league. So that game was good. It's always a good matchup between the Cowboys and the Packers. Once again, Cowboys 2-3. I believe they're third place in the NFC East right now, facing a winless 49ers team in Week 7, chasing down the Eagles, who are 5-1. That'll do it for this edition of the Observatory. I want to thank you guys for joining in. Go ahead and tune in next time for when we run down just everything going on in the UTD sports world and the Dallas sports world. For Jordan Murphy and Matice Wynn, signing off. Thank you very much.